One of the things we're really trying to draw attention to, again, maybe more from a commitment to this patient population perspective, the challenges with ultra-rare drug development are just so different than the challenges you face at other points in the development spectrum, right? So we have programs in common diseases that affect over 1 million Americans, which we haven't talked about here today. We have programs in, more small to moderate-sized rare diseases, where if you don't see a convincing signal in a clinical trial, you can go back into the clinic and try it again. And then you have this ultra-rare situation where you do one trial and you've essentially used the entire eligible and willing patient population. And I think that we need some policy changes to try to define innovative pathways to get to approvals for these diseases, looking at things like real-world evidence and natural history controls, potentially, more flexible post-marketing requirements. The challenges are just so different in these ultra-rare diseases, and these really are the most vulnerable patients from a healthcare equity perspective. Like, all the odds are really stacked against them. In our case, because we were partnered so closely with patient advocacy, who literally knows the 250 known patients in the world, and this was the first clinical program, and there's only 2 multidisciplinary centers in the world treating the disease, they were able to reach out to the patients and find out who was interested in participating. But to your point, just as you wouldn't expect 20 or 30 or 50% of a common disease patient population to be interested in clinical research, it's maybe even harder for some of these rare diseases because these patients get extremely fatigued with travel, participation in clinical trials. So I think that between our 2 programs, we've actually studied over 20% of the US patient population, but that comprises 31 patients, 12 in our double-blind placebo-controlled trial and 19 in a natural history control. So it's really challenging. FDA, senior officials have commented to us that they question whether it's ethical to conduct placebo-controlled trials in ultra-rare diseases because it's almost impossible to power them appropriately to see, efficacious results. So FDA has guidance saying that, natural history control studies can be appropriate, single-arm trials can be appropriate, real-world evidence can be appropriate, but there's a huge disparity across the agency in terms of how much flexibility is utilized in various divisions. And that, I think, is one of the challenges, right, is how do you standardize that? FDA itself commissioned a study of its use of regulatory flexibility, and there's a published report that says it's highly variable across the agency. So in part of that, to be fair, these are public servants who are trying to be careful about safety and efficacy, and maybe used to, certainly in cardiology, seeing trials that have 6,000 patients enrolled. So I think giving them permission to utilize more overt guidance that utilizing maximum flexibility in this narrow subset would be appropriate can help kind of assuage some of the concerns that they might validly have that flexibility shouldn't be extended across the board, because at that point it might chip away at the standards they otherwise usually adhere to.